Hi, everyone. I'm Sandy Hernandez, founder of the Retail Muse, and welcome to Store Wars, the NRF Recap Edition, Part 2. If you missed it yesterday, I interviewed Jack Stratton and Matthew Brown, some of my retail expert friends, to get their takes on the stores that stood out to them during their visit to New York during NRF. So make sure to catch that episode. And we also touched on Community Spotlight. And today we're going to have two more retail expert friends join me as we break down some of our favorite stores, also maybe some retail misses, and what retailers can learn from that. As well as today's episode is going to have a mini spotlight as well. Today we're going to focus a little bit on tech and tech in store and when it goes right and when perhaps it goes wrong. And we're going to have. I'm so excited about today. We have two expert friends of mine, two also NRF retail voices, and I'm very excited to see them since we're not actually in the same location. One in New Jersey, one in, I believe, sitting today in France. So let's introduce them and bring them into the show. So my first guest is Mr. Chris Igwe. He's the founder and president of Chris Igwe International, and as I mentioned, he's an NRF retail voice for 2 years in a row, which is amazing. And now, if I can, I'm going to bring you on. Let's see. There you are. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Sandy. Great to be here.
Um, you want to just give a quick intro to yourself to the audience?
I'm based in Paris
Mhm.
specifically, which is a very sad place to live these days,
Oh,
but I'm very happy to represent
yes.
retail voices from here. I am a retail advisor, primarily advising retailers and brands on their international, if not global strategy. I also advise landlords and owners depending on the requirements and circumstances and many other things involving the top retail experts and obviously retail voices, as you mentioned. So
Yes.
delighted to be here.
Yes. Yeah, I'm so excited to have you on today too because you do bring that like real estate lens, and I know you had some visits to malls during this trip to New York. So we'll get some of those cool stores from your visits in this episode. And the next person is Mr. David Polinchock. Welcome to the show. Another retail voice, another one of my friends that goes on many walkabouts in New York. Um, well, kind of now it's been a 2 year tradition during the Christmas time, and also just try to get out at least like once a quarter or so. And also, I think you're on mute, David.
No, I'm not.
Okay, perfect. And also you're a yeah, go ahead, introduce yourself and then
Yeah.
we'll carry on. Yeah.
So, David Polinchock, I am one of the co-founders and the president of the Brand Experience Lab. We help retailers understand the emerging tech trends that are impacting how we shop today, whether primarily in-store is our focus, and also look at, the broader trends of how it's Gen Z shopping and what's happening in the stores and whatever impacts that. We talk a lot about community and third places and what that means for retail. And we also do a lot of technology development around computer vision, inventory management, and sort of the back end tech for retailers as well.
Yeah. And another fun fact about you is also you worked for Disney, right?
I
Which is
did.
great. So um and also a part of like well, it was at Macy's, right?
Yes,
Yes.
I was actually part of Santaland,
Hmm.
the original Santaland at Macy's, and met my wife because she was one of my elves.
Yes. It's such a great story. Well, welcome both to the show. And I'm really excited to hear your thoughts on New York City retail. But before we get into a little bit of the tech spotlight and your top picks, as you know, I'd like to start with our icebreaker game and a bit of.
Uh, I
We
think you've gone off. We can't hear you, Sandy.
Can can you hear me with this?
We can
Yes.
hear you with that, yes. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know why it's on mute. Okay, I'll stay on this screen. Um, so
That's the
well,
icebreaker, Chris. Sandy
yes.
disappears, and you and I just have to
Exactly.
chit chat for a couple minutes.
Um, okay, well, you can hear me now, right?
Yes,
Yes, we
Okay,
can. Perfect.
I mean, a live stream wouldn't be perfect without a mistake there, so it's fine.
that's correct,
Um,
especially when you're talking about tech.
exactly. All right, so let's do a bit of a lightning round, rapid fire questions. Don't overthink it. Just give me, the first answer that pops into your head. All right, so I'm gonna start
Okay.
with Chris, and then David just answer the same question. So one word to describe NRF.
Crazy busy, but exciting. That's not one word, that's
Yeah,
several words. I'm
it's
sorry. I
okay.
can't do one word.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say because I have for me it was different, but a community.
No, nice. I like that. All right, favorite street or area to shop in New York City?
I'm gonna go traditional, partly because I guess it's my day job, as it were. I love Fifth Avenue. Because I've seen it before when it wasn't so exciting, when it went down, hit the rocks in terms of retail real estate and brands. And I just think it's blossomed into something truly amazing, seeing incredible flagships, incredible
Yep.
designs, incredible architecture, and so on. So I'm going to stay on that path. And for me, Fifth Avenue, just pretty much the main retail stretch. Yeah.
Yep.
Not to mention, of course, the Louis Vuitton
Yeah.
building facade, and looking forward to that opening one day. That'll be pretty amazing. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's the one for me.
And I'm going to go downtown because I am now a fan of what's happening sort of east of Soho, in the not quite the East Village, but where you're getting a lot more of the smaller boutiques and the interesting experimentation stores, and also stores where I think the staff is really sensational.
Like Nolita?
Now, a little bit south, like where we were, where commodity is and sort of
Oh,
that
okay.
side when you're
Yeah.
going. I don't really know. It's not really the East Village ish, but
It's Soho-ish. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
Soho-ish.
Yes. Um, all right. Next is the best first impression. So either like a store window, maybe like a welcome by a shop employee, something that's like had that really
Hmm.
wow factor um, when you arrived at the place. Anything stand
I
out?
wouldn't say arrived at the place, but
Mm,
inside. So, and I know it was a choice yesterday, but I still have to say it is the Printemps
mm,
boutique around Wall Street. The welcome, I think, needs some work. Quite frankly, that's a whole different story. But when you get inside, you're just wowed by so many different amazing spaces and places, not just in terms of the architecture, the design, but of course the finish of some of the areas. So I'd have to go for that as a sort of a complete element of what I think is amazing.
You mean the
yep.
print temp store, right? Is that the one you?
Chris's ears.
Yeah, I shot several videos there calling it the print temp store before Sandy uh, corrected me, and I think, and we were there, Sandy, when we went out that Friday. The commodity store. I think
Yeah,
the gentleman whose name, because I have no memory for names, I'm blanking on, but he was such fun to engage with us,
yeah, yeah,
um, and
definitely.
and particularly because we weren't there to shop, really. And I think he got almost all of us to think about buying from them, and that was a good, change.
Yeah. And I've come back again with others too, and it's he's always like that. And it just shows how much of a difference, really passionate employee can have on your overall experience with the brand.
Right.
So yeah, it was fantastic. All right. So what shop in New York is your happy place?
Mm.
Do
Gosh,
you have one?
happy place. That's a tough one. Um, I would probably go, and I think there's an element of nostalgia in it, would be Banana Republic
Hmm.
on Fifth Avenue.
Oh
I think
yeah.
it's an absolutely amazing place, what they've done. There is just a serenity around it. There is a beauty in the merchandising and the whole approach to the way the brand has evolved from what it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. And I guess I can just add now, in terms of my background, I was head of real estate for
Mhm.
Foot Locker and also for Gap. So I was very close to the Gap Inc., Banana Republic, Old Navy, Gap. And so there's an element of nostalgia, but a true appreciation of what they've done in that store, for me anyway. The one in Soho is nice as well, but I just got a better vibe from the Fifth Avenue one.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'm sure almost everybody, because we've all talked about it. I gotta say, the new Nespresso store, the way
Yeah.
they've set that place up to be a relaxing coffee experience, as opposed to a place to go buy coffee.
Yeah.
Um, and I think they've done a really nice job with the whole physical environment. Certainly, the staff was there, though. It certainly helped that we were there when the new CEO was there. I'm sure the
Yeah.
staff was on their best behavior. Um, but but I can see myself definitely hanging there, and have talked to other people who have been looking for places to hang down in that neighborhood in Flatiron. And 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 honestly, because it just popped into my head as well, I gotta love Italy. I've
Mhm.
had so much fun at the especially the roof garden at Italy. Um,
Yeah.
not great today, but soon it will be nice again.
Yeah. I did actually end up going for a dinner there, during NRF in the roof garden. It's like a little escape from, the busy street.
It-
So it's,
yeah.
and they always make it a pop-up. Um, yeah, it's such a nice space.
Yeah.
All right, so a couple more quick ones. Okay, so the biggest misconception people have about New York City retail.
Well, I think that for me anyway, coming from Europe, the misconception is that there's not really that much to see in New
Mm,
York. And inevitably, it relates to people who've not been to New York for many, many years
Right.
and have not found a reason to go to New York. So I'm kind of beating the drum over here, just pointing out that NRF would be a good place to start and a lot of things to see. But I think that's one of the big misconceptions that I come across a lot, going back to what I said
mhm.
previously about the difficulties of New York real estate when the rental levels just exploded and international and global brands struggled, not to mention American ones. So there's a feeling that it's deflated, which is obviously not true.
Yep.
And I would probably say, because I think a lot of tourists hit either Fifth Avenue or Broadway and Soho, and don't really get off into the sides and certainly the boroughs
Mhm.
to see the really incredible variety that we have in New York.
Yeah.
There's so many. I lived in Brooklyn, and the street I used to live on was a street that, was notorious for not high crime and just a terrible street. And now it's one of the best shopping streets in New York,
Yep.
Old Smith Street in Brooklyn. And, people forget those kind of things.
Yep. I'm sitting in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, which have lots and very close to Williamsburg. Lots of well, now we're getting obviously more international brands, but also obviously we have many independent boutiques. It's just fun to have a wander, and a lot of brands
Yep.
that started here first, and then gone into Manhattan and other states and countries as well. So definitely lots of fun retailers to explore here in the other boroughs, as you know, and
Yep.
also in New Jersey, where you're at as well, David.
Yeah, I mean, the malls out here are doing really well, and we have some really interesting stores, one of which I'll do a little talking about, which is
Mhm.
Stu Leonard's, which has sort of rethought the grocery experience. And, I think that's a misconception in general, is that retail has become sort of boring and staid, and in some cases it has, but there's a lot of real excitement going on in places that you wouldn't expect.
Yep. All right. Last one is true or false. AI is a net good for retail.
If only it was that simple,
I know.
Sandy. I would
It
say yes.
depends.
It's a net good. I like the way you describe that. It is a net good. There's a lot of many aspects to AI, which we all know, those of us who dive deeper and deeper into it, that are not good for the industry, not good for retail. But there are many aspects of it as well that are definitely the upside, and we've just got to look at how to balance that out and get the conversation on a
Yeah.
more structured as opposed to a sort of paranoia type approach. So yes, I'd go for a net good.
Mhm.
And I would say for retail, I think it's going to be net good. For society, I think that we're still wondering how it's going to impact society. But I think there's a lot that actually will be good for retail in terms of how do we engage, and how do we bring back some of the elements of retail that we used to have that we don't really have anymore.
Mhm. And it's a great segue now into our quick tech spotlight. Can you still hear me? I'm not nervous to
Now we can
change
hear
the
you.
We can,
scenes.
yes, perfect. Yeah, well done.
Um,
Tech
so
works.
you both did, I mean, you were at the show, walked the expo floor, and I believe you both went to the um, AI retail or the AIR conference, right?
Yep.
So you saw some and met with tech companies as well as, visited many stores where tech perhaps was a component. So based off of everything you saw, what's like one interesting problem that you think tech can solve in store? Or maybe it's not, maybe you didn't meet anyone that could solve it yet. Um, but is there like one interesting problem that you would love for tech to solve?
Well, if I just jump in, it was more, at least starting off, there are different areas, and not to monopolize the conversation. I thought it was really fascinating to listen to David Lauren of Ralph Lauren talking about Ask Ralph, that the app and their partnership relationship with Microsoft, and how they're developing or have developed already, and obviously moving it fast forward, the virtual shopping assistant to really help take not only the physical store um, and bring that into this application, which people can then connect with and use and really develop. And with AI, it's helping to understand more about the shopper and that shopping journey.
Hmm.
So I found that to be fascinating. I'm not personally a Ralph shopper, but I do. He created enough excitement for me to think maybe I'll go check it out and see what that's about. So that's one from the kind of leadership. The
Hmm.
other aspect I would say is really around what I heard on the floor, both in the NRF space, but also in the AI summit that we had, which was around the fact that AI is not necessarily the conversation specifically. It's more around how that is being integrated. So AI is almost like it's been accepted, because we talked about
Hmm.
that a few minutes
Yep.
ago. It's accepted as an integral part of how to improve that shopping experience. And now it's taking it to the next level of what does that actually look like? What is the result of that from a tech point of view? So I thought, I mean, there's a lot of, and David, you could talk more about this, a lot of tech that was clearly visible on the NRF floor, but also the conversations and the conference around AI and the AI summit really showed to what point it has become an integral part of strategy in the way that retailers, brands are using it. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and I would agree. For many years we used to talk about digital like it was a separate thing, and now digital is just how you live. And I think AI is heading down that path. I think there were part of the challenge with all technology is that we build a lot of technology just because we can, not because it necessarily has a valuable use necessarily. But for example, Zebra showed off their companion app. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting about it was that it allows, they were showing a demo from Total Wine, and it allowed a person who was an in-store expert on a specific wine or set of wines to add their own notes to the AI so that you could, it's not just saying, hey, the AI thinks this is the best Sauvignon Blanc. It's David, who's our Sauvignon Blanc expert in store, but who's not here today. This is why he
Mm.
thinks this is such a good wine. And I think the power is when we bring the human and the AI together, as opposed to trying to use the AI to replace the human, which we do way too frequently. But the other thing, which if you live in New York, I don't know what it's like outside of New York. It's certainly like this in New York. We're kind of tired of going into CVS, not to pick on CVS. A lot of stores do this, and everything is under lock and key. And I think, we need to figure out the tech that protects the retailer
Hmm.
from some of the theft issues that they might be having, but doesn't eliminate the consumer experience where, especially if it's a category like deodorant or things like that, where it's unlikely that I need it right now. And
Well,
if you
maybe.
make it hard, maybe, but I've had my days, um, you know, but where if I have the option to just order online, I will, if you've made the in-store experience too difficult.
Yeah.
And I think, we are working on that too, but I'd rather see a lot more. How do we bring in the convenience of shopping online with the personality of shopping in store?
Hmm.
I think that's where we'll see some really interesting. I think AI will do that. And I think some other technologies will really help us figure out that, how to connect those things better.
Yeah. I personally, I hate the how the experience has evolved in the drugstore environment, like CVS, Walgreens, etc. Well, now that Target one has freed the products, but it has changed the experience altogether. It's also the out of stocks, so it's kind of just an ongoing problem in that sector.
Without a
Everything,
doubt.
yeah, it's empty shelves, so that's another problem.
I know it's not tech related, but it is one of my soapboxes is that if you're a retailer and you're going to open up a physical store, then you actually have to pretend you like having a physical store.
Yes.
I think a lot of retailers open up physical stores and then treat it like it's a bastard child that they don't really want to admit that they
Yeah.
have. And that's how you end up with empty shelves and, not enough people to serve you in the store. I know mainly because I couldn't honestly remember the name of it, but remember the boutique that we all went to that Friday? The clothing store, it was kind of off the track. We just kind of walked into it.
I wasn't with you, I don't
Oh,
think.
maybe you weren't with
Yeah.
us at that point. Yeah. We went into this little clothing boutique, women's clothing boutique, very expensive. Um, and there were like 12 employees in a store that was, I don't know, 500 square feet, So every person shopping there kind of had their own shopper. Was, you know, it was $3,000 to dress. So I guess it was okay to staff that way. But I think a lot of retailers look at their stores as a cost center, not as a revenue center, and then treat it not well.
Yeah. So it's a great point. I thought it would be good just to show the audience an example. And again, I'm nervous to see if our sound will go away. I'm gonna try it. Let's see. Can you hear? Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, we
So
can.
we saw this. Now RFID has gotten to a point, right? Um, that costs have come down and starting to see some really interesting use cases for improving both the customer experience but also for the employee. So here's the
Yeah.
example of American Eagle, and that's you, David, if you don't recognize yourself.
Uh,
Um, when we went in, just I think during our holiday tour, but they've implemented connected fitting rooms, but also throughout
yep.
the store, um, that you're able to get more information if you scan the item, and able to see there you were trying. I don't think it actually recognized it. But yeah, so we're starting to see things like that to kind of open up parts of the store and unlock them through RFID and connected fitting room so that you're able to have visibility into that, formerly dark space, as well as give the shopper a supposedly better experience um, through, quicker service from the employees, being able to get more sizes, and sometimes being able to check out from the fitting room. So I don't know if you guys have come across this as well, and what are your thoughts on, this particular interpretation of technology in store?
You know what? I
Yeah,
mean,
I've
No,
go
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 ahead.
ahead,
ahead, Dave.
Chris.
Go, Chris.
I was
Yeah.
just going to say I've seen it, but one of the challenges is like anything with tech, when it works, it's
Yeah.
Yeah,
great. When it breaks down, there's incredibly frustrating communication between the staff member
Yeah.
who probably doesn't know why and what the issue is, and you don't have
right.
the patience all the time to wait around for that person to figure it out. So it's beautiful, it's fantastic. I've seen a few like that. But when screens go blank or there's something that doesn't work or there's a bug or whatever, that's when, to your point earlier on, David, that's where the issue starts. It's like shopping should be about shopping and about someone actually supporting you and advising you. And for example, where there's a $3,000 dress, I wouldn't expect you'd have a screen like that because you want personal
Right.
care. You want, so I think there's a point at which
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense. It's a nice to have, but not a need to have.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. A long, long, long time ago, we were pitching some tech stuff to a client, and the gentleman said to us, this is how long ago it was. I have a combination 13-inch TV VCR. The tape plays 3 times, and all I need is somebody in the store to hit start again so that the tape will play another 3 loops. And I can't get any employee to do that. If that screen goes blank, to your point, Chris, A, they don't know how it works, so they don't even know how to fix it. And B, quite frankly, most of them aren't that interested in fixing it because
Hmm,
it's not their job, as it were.
exactly.
And and I think there are places that we're experimenting, and I love that we're looking at, again, that e-tailing your retail. How do I get more information about this product other than it's $49? Why aren't the systems, and we saw some of them, telling me, if you're looking at that pair of pants, here's 3 shirts and a sports coat that would go great with it, as opposed to just, here's how much that pair of pants costs. Um, and I think that's what people are expecting more and more. And we've been out with my daughter, who's 24, and she has a very different level of expectation of how tech should work in a store.
Yeah.
And she's not at all forgiving because she's grown up with tech her whole life, where certainly if you're my age, you've seen the hits and misses of tech over decades. And so we tend to be a little bit more forgiving about how it works. And the younger shoppers are just like, it either works or it doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, I'm gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great points. And I think I guess there's nothing wrong with, doing something like that, I guess a tech in your store, but you have to think through kind of all the different scenarios as a retailer and think about, for example, even in the American Eagle, when you scan the dress that you were looking at, David, um, they gave you
Hey, let's
recommendations,
not
but
be
then like,
sexist.
but then like now what? Like
Hmm,
what do I do with this information? So it's kind of like thinking through that path for the
Yep.
customer before you implement anything will help, improve adoption as well as kind of usefulness for the customer.
Well, and Sandy, one of the reasons we do, I other than I actually do love to shop, that we do the walkabouts, is a lot of these tech implementations are built outside of the how retail actually works. You
Yeah.
know, they never bring in a store associate and say, "Hey, we're going to test this new RFID thing.
Yeah.
How do you sell?"
Yeah.
So that they can see, oh, this will really enhance my sell, or I don't do any of that, or this won't, this takes 3 steps longer than what I normally do today. It's not going to help me.
Yeah. And I went during NRF to this this pre-opening breakfast talk at Varley in their shop, and they were just talking about how they've been implementing RFID, and I think their approach was smart because they're taking it, incrementally small steps, like using it for something that can actually help the employee in their daily work and kind of bringing them
Right.
along the journey and showing that actually this improved my ability to do inventory and stock checks every morning. And so it's kind of
Yep.
it showed actually the employees were talking about how they use it, so it actually changed their lives. So I think it's kind of bringing them in, as you said, and taking it step by step. Yeah,
Right. And one of my favorite, I actually saw them do it in Toronto the first time, but the Nespresso store having the RFID bins. Sometimes when I go into an espresso store, I just need to get my coffee. I know what I want. I don't want to wait online while 30 other
yeah,
people ask questions. I just want to go in, grab my sleeves, throw them in the bin, leave.
yeah,
And and then other times I want to be like, well, what are the new flavors? What's the new winter flavors that you have coming out? I want to sample. I want to do, and I think that's an easy, like Uniqlo does as well, to really easy shopping experience where I could just come up and dump stuff into a bin
yeah.
and it tallies it for me.
Yep. And I feel like we
Can
could.
I just come up
Oh, go ahead,
with,
Chris. Yeah,
sorry, Sandy, I just want to, if
yeah,
I may, just a little anecdote before we move on. One of the things that sort of transition or support or whatever you want to describe it between tech or optimization, in other words, let's take a self-checkout
mhm,
and the human aspect. And for example, it's happened to me, well, at the NRF, in fact, where I'd ordered my meal, it was inside, and I had a beer and self-checkout, great. And then, of course, the machine beeps, basically, because you're buying alcohol.
Right.
What do you need to show your age or your ID. And when the guy came up to me and he said, "I've got to check your ID," I said, "You've got to be kidding. Seriously, you want to check my ID?" I said, "I've got children, I've got grandchildren. Don't you think I'm of an age I could He goes, "I'm sorry, I don't want to be fired. I need to do it." And I mean, I was fine. It wasn't an issue, but that's an issue I think we need to address. It also happened to me in a Target store last summer, in fact, the same thing. And the lady said to me, "I'm sorry, I can't let you go without or purchase that without seeing your ID." And for me, it's those kind of things that just don't make
Yeah.
sense. We
hmm
want to improve the store environment. We want to improve the checkout process. We want to improve the customer service. And then we hit this bump in the road, and the staff are not given this sort of executive possibility or decision making to say, "Yeah, you definitely look the age and it's okay." I mean, and I think that's what, and then I'll just wrap up by saying, interestingly, in London, where I was last week, there was a supermarket, won't name it, which I noticed there's actually a camera. So as you're on self-checkout, there's a camera obviously watching
yeah,
you, but I still had to get the approval from someone to say he's of age to buy alcohol. And I'm just thinking, yeah, I know there's GDPR
Well,
and everything else, facial recognition and all that sort of stuff, but what's the point apart from maybe me stealing it, perhaps? But I just think these are, when we talk tech, we have to your point, David, we have to get to the store personnel point of view and say, these are the things that are causing us problems. This is what we see at the coal face. How can we deal with that?
right.
yeah,
There are
Right.
solutions, but I just wanted to leave that as a little
yeah.
anecdote
Great.
that I'd love to see altered in
Yeah.
the
Yeah, and
industry.
I and
And
not create, yeah, not create new problems. Yeah, which is
Hmm.
that's a great.
and Chris,
That's a
just so
great story.
I've had the opposite. I was actually waiting in line to go into a, a bar restaurant where they were IDing everybody, including the man in front of me who was in a wheelchair carrying oxygen tanks. And they ID'd him. And when I got up, they went, "No, you're good." Like,
David.
thanks, guy. That was
Oh
before the blue
goodness.
hair. Now
Okay.
that I have blue hair, I get ID'd
Yeah.
everywhere.
All
Uh,
right. Well, um, I mean, this tech conversation, like I have so many questions still for you guys, but I think just giving the time, I mean, this is such an interesting conversation around this topic. But I'm really keen to get your top five picks and share them with the audience. So we're gonna start with Chris, and we're just gonna start, just do the countdown. It'll just be you just sharing, from 5 down, and just let me know when you're ready. I can tee it up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, perfect. I'm gonna start with number 5.
Okay. Yeah, this one here is Ralph's Coffee, which is in Woodbury Commons, and Woodbury Commons is an outlet run and operated by Simon in New York State. It's about an hour and a half, I guess, drive from New York City itself. And what was captivating around this was the fact that not only in a Ralph store, which I don't need to describe, everybody knows what Ralph looks like as a store, but they pride themselves on the quality of the coffee that they have, which comes from South America and from Africa, and it's authentic. I guess that's one of the words, but also organic. So I'm not a big coffee drinker specifically, but those that I was with did try it, did enjoy it, and I think that's one of the new steps which we see in many different stores today is how can you bring people together around coffee? What does that look like? What does that feel like? But maintaining the integrity of the brand as well, because Ralph is always around anyway, the idea of authenticity, of originality, of creativity. And this particular one, I just felt added a certain something to it. In fact, outside a little bit further down, there was a little truck that had Ralph's Coffee on it as well, which was just a beautiful sort of link between the physical space and this space within the Woodbury Commons area itself. And it's just, it was a beautiful kind of oasis, if you like, within the shopping environment. So that's my number 5. Number 4, Vuori. This was the one on Flatiron. And there are not many Vuori stores outside of the US specifically, but what I liked about this is inevitably that sort of Californian feel, that athleisure as well, which is something that several different brands, as we know, whether it's Alo Yoga, obviously a little bit of Lululemon or much of Lululemon, and also let's say Allbirds, etc. But what I liked about this particular one was it was beautifully done. It was non-invasive. The architecture, design, the feel around it as well. And to be honest, the staff who were in there to explain some of the background, the history, and just making me feel very welcome, quite honestly, which is not always something you see in necessarily a store that looks as clean as it is, but it was nicely defined and nicely distinctively laid out for women as well as men. So I really enjoyed the experience in this store and chatting to the store manager who was on duty at the time. Number 3 is Buck Mason, and this is one that our friend Jack talked about yesterday, but he spoke about the one in Soho. The one I enjoyed, what I enjoyed, I guess, a lot about this particular one was it was my first exposure, to be honest, to the brand. We talked earlier on in this talk today about being made to feel welcome. This is one where you definitely you were able to feel welcome when as soon as you walked in, the greeting that was given at the door, inviting me to look around. If I had any questions, I got to know a bit about the brand. I love a lot of these sort of cool feelings, cool areas. It's interesting, I would say, as we look at this, is there are more and more of these sort of artifacts, if we can describe it that way, in various stores. So you've got coffee, which is an integral part, but also artifacts from the past, from history, and inevitably the Porsche. I think it's a 1968 Porsche, which is sitting at the storefront, and the inevitable question, a bit like the chicken and the egg, which came first? Was the Porsche already there and they built the store around it, or did they manage to get the Porsche in somehow? So it sort of left these little things in your mind, and you go, that's cool. And as you can see here, the sort of cigarettes or cigars in the ashtray, I just thought little details like that, but just so well done. And one of the guys in the store actually gave me water to drink while seeing me walk around. Obviously got permission to take photos and so on. And I thought that was nice. It was clear I was never going to shop. I didn't have the intention at that stage because I was doing stores. my kind of personal store visit, but he was kind enough to offer me a nice bottle of water to drink.
And I think also that's Palo Santo, the scent they released into Buck Mason in that little
In the
urn thing.
ashtray?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay,
It's a
okay.
signature. It's really cool.
Oh, right, okay. Would have been a bit weird me getting my nose right next to it. I didn't smell it, so they might want me out quickly. Number two, you mentioned at the beginning, and I talked obviously about Woodbury Commons, so outlets, which I'm very close to and involved in at different levels in the industry, but also shopping malls. And this was one that I discovered in Hudson Yards, which I went to visit. I'd been to Hudson Yards last year and wanted to go back and see what had changed because there were various empty stores last year, and just discovering this 124, which is really a concept based off the founder's love of sneakers. And as I understand the story, he didn't really want it to be a store. He didn't have a business plan. He didn't have an idea about creating a store, but he just wanted people to share the love of sneakers, and went to a lot of conventions and shows around the US, just really enjoying and doing competitions with different people. And it grew and grew and grew and became something very exciting. And eventually then decided to create a store. So there's this one, and there's another one at Westfield Oculus. And one of their signature aspects of this brand is the fact that they are able to secure rare and special edition merchandise, shoes and sneakers in particular, but also t-shirts from the major brands, the Nikes, the Adidas, and so on. So just a very unique feature and a great aspect. And I just thought it was really nice. And the store, the guy in the store was he had his iPad and was basically saying, if there's anything you'd like to find out, I can help you. It's on the iPad. I can see if we've got it in stock and so on. So again, just a nice little touch there to be supported in that experience.
Mhm.
And number one, the fantastic world of Portuguese sardine. And I don't know how many people know of the Portuguese sardine. I discovered it myself possibly 3 years ago when I was doing a store, shopping center visits with a group called Sonai Sierra, who are large developers in Europe. And I just thought it was really cool, very interesting. And then when I got to New York, not this year, but last year, and just stumbling upon it, I just thought, wow, this is really cool. And as far as I know, it is still the only store outside of Portugal. And when I asked them the question, they said, well, on the one hand, having done their demographics and review of the market, they felt that this was the right place that spoke of the heritage, the experience. And what's amazing about this, whether you get octopus sardines or whatever name, is they have about 30 odd recipes. They are created by those who work in the factory, but it is not sort of machine, if you like. There is a lot of homemade, handmade, hand-holding experience that goes into these. So they sort of express the love, if you like, of Portuguese sardine, and you can't but fall in love with it. And so I just thought, well, there's the theater, there's the creativity, there's the history, there's a bit of Portugal in New York, very close to Times Square, and all of this just makes for a beautiful storytelling, which we all love very much today. Those are my top five.
Great, thanks for sharing. I love a good the packaging. Like I love when uh, especially with tin. There's a whole movement around tinned fish too. I think with Fish Wife as well. I don't know if you're familiar with that brand as
Mm.
well. I when they invest in the packaging, it because it looks like art, right? Lined up on the
Yeah.
walls. It's so cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
One of the things they did they did a really good job of, not is they had all the years.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Mm.
So
Yes,
they
indeed.
did different packaging with a little different piece of information about every year.
Correct. Yeah,
So
that's right.
you could buy a tin for your birth year,
Oh, that's
Mm.
which
cool.
was kind of fun. Yeah.
Thank you, Chris, for sharing, and I'll have David share his, and then we can have a quick discussion on all of our picks. So I'm going to hand it over to you, David, to reveal your number five.
Sure.
Right?
So my number five would definitely be, I love what Louis Vuitton is doing, and what I really love about them. So two things. One is on the left there, you see, um, they really did a really cool job. They had put scaffolding up because they're redoing the building, and they could have put, as you know, if you live in New York, the scaffolding goes up and is up there for about 27 years. And they just did a fabulous job. I've never seen so many people stop at a street corner to take pictures of New York City construction scaffolding. And so I love that. But what I really loved, and what I said in my note to you, Sandy, was across their stores, whether they're big city, the flagship in New York, or the local malls by me at Short Hills Mall, um, they have a real consistency in their brand image across all their stores, and to me that makes them, a really well done retail experience. And it goes without saying with their product line, knowledgeable staff. The whole experience works when you're inside. But I had to give them a shout out for their consistency. And Abercrombie, now I want to be very, very clear. I am not the target audience for Abercrombie, nor have I ever been the target audience for Abercrombie. But if you know the history of Abercrombie, they started doing safari clothing for people like Teddy Roosevelt. And their flagship in Fifth Avenue way back 100 years ago included a cabin on the roof and a fishing pond. And then there was a period of Abercrombie where the stores were so dark and so heavily perfumed that I could barely step into their stores. And now their aisles are wide, their stores are well lit. I just love how they've been able to keep a consistent brand experience while constantly changing everything about the brand experience. And I think that, the fact that there's still a clothing brand that people shop at is a testament to how well they've continued to evolve with how retail is evolving. I'm a huge fan of this kind of thing, and I don't and I'm sorry, this is one I know I don't like to take pictures when there's a lot of people in a store, and I've never seen the Capital One Cafe without a lot of people in the store. And again, this is something I think was a very smart move. And a number of people are number of bank brands are looking at this now. And part of it is because we don't go to banks anymore. They have a lot of real estate. We lost a lot of great retail in New York for bank brands. And the repurposing of the physical space to go beyond, hey, I need to talk to somebody about putting a deposit in, or I need to, do XYZ, which we can now all do. I deposited a check yesterday by taking a picture of it on my cell phone. I don't need to go to a bank branch anymore. But as we need more gathering spaces, we need more third places, and we need, I'm in New York and I want a place to have a cup of coffee, but also kind of sit down and be a little bit quiet and maybe get a little bit of work done while I'm waiting for another meeting. Things like the Capital One Cafe really serve a need and bring potentially new clients to a brand that they wouldn't have thought about before they had sat down and had a cup of Joe there. Sandy, I'm going to let you say the brand name because I always say,
Arc'teryx.
thank you. I have never said this brand correctly. But again, I love what they're doing. When we were in the Soho store, they have that very nice coffee shop that looks like a chalet on the backside of the store. They've done a really nice job with not only being forward thinking, right, because that's where they should be, but also bringing in their history. And that's one of the things we talk about, is that brands use history in two ways, either to focus on what they're doing and how they can't change. Well, we've always done it that way, so we can't do anything differently. And brands who use their history as guideposts to the future. And I think they've done a really good job with showing where they've come from, and how their products have been developed over the years, but also moving themselves into the 21st century. Bringing, I also am a big fan. They've done it well. Other places have done it well. Um, Bringing in the local community so that you can, find other people who want to go skiing with you or do a sport with you. And again, sit in the back and have a cup of coffee while you're waiting for maybe them to do some tailoring on your clothing, I think is a smart move. And number one, because we love this place. Honestly, I am not a cologne guy. And boy, it was really hard for me not to spend a lot of money in this store. And I tried to get a good picture of it, and I did not. But one of the things I loved is how they do their scent levels at, do I want to be intimate in how I impact people with my cologne scent, or do I want to be broad in how I want to impact people with our cologne scent? So I was really pretty excited, and I learned a lot at this place. Now, I got to tell you, he was awesome, and that makes the experience even better. He really described things that I did not know you layer colognes or scents. I thought you put one on and you use that for the whole day. And listening to him talk about the how he builds his layers of scent, um, created an experience that I would not normally have in a place where I was shopping for colognes. And I've run out of the sample that he gave me, so I definitely need to go back and actually buy the whole product now.
Yes, and also, like, layering, I think it's one of the Pinterest predicts, they come out with a set of, predictions every year
Right,
for and organize them by trends based off of all the searches and all, like, what their customers are pinning and all that stuff, so they analyze that, and that was one of the trends for this year was
I,
layering.
I had no idea. I'm telling you, I always thought you put one on and you couldn't confuse your scents. So that was fascinating to me.
Yeah. But great picks, and I'm glad that you guys all did, different things. Um, Chris, anything stand out from anything from what David shared and vice versa, David?
I agree totally, and I love the idea of Abercrombie and how they've changed. Like you, David, I was not the target audience, but even when I went in with my children, even when they were younger, they were like, "No, this is not for us. It's just too dark, too heavy, too
Right.
scented, and everything else." And so that change that they've made, I think, is a good example of how brands can change. They can take their history with them, and it's interesting. I think there's a parallel there. There are no doubt many other American brands one can consider, but I think Banana Republic equally, if you remember the Banana Republic back in the day, the jungle and all those sort of images and archaic travel, and then what they are today and what they've done, but they still have that travel feel. There's kind of the motorcycle or there's a cycle or
Right.
whatever in there. So I think it's about and we have to take our hats off to the visual merchandisers and the marketing people, those who really spend a lot of time behind the scenes trying to bring that history and culture and experience and transform it into something which is more relevant today. And we often forget the hard work that goes into that. So I just want us to recognize them. So that's the one I would say. Otherwise, I love everything you say. I mean, I like the cafe and the bank. I agree. Who goes to a bank these days? What's
Right.
the point? Although I'm not sure that people would necessarily, the bank would want to see a lot of people walking into their banks and just sitting and having coffee between those who might want to, bank raid and well, maybe they don't look like they should be there. So I think it's a nice idea, but let's leave Starbucks and Nescafe to deal with those kind of groups.
Yeah.
And I think we had pitched a bank many years ago on doing a cafe, and the idea was really that the cafe could become a perk for being a customer of the bank,
Hmm.
where you're incentivizing, that opportunity. A lot of us, Sandy, I know we've struggled with this on occasion when we're meeting in the city, and not meeting because we're going to do a walkabout where it's a much more social meeting, but meeting where we need to sit down and talk to somebody because we're having a meeting. It's not always easy to find places in
Yeah.
New
Hmm.
York, surprisingly. Um, and they, you know, there's an opportunity to make that part of their ongoing business, down the road. I'm with you, Chris. Love what they've done with Ralph's Coffee. I just think it was the right brand extension for
Mm,
them, and for their what they do.
mm,
There are other places where the coffee extension isn't always in tune with who the brand is, but the Ralph shopper is a little bit more casual. You could see them having that morning cup of coffee on the leather couch,
mm, mm.
Yeah.
and it fits with their personality, more than some of the other brands that we've seen it at,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
we've
Mm,
And lastly, because we'll wrap up with just one final your final thoughts. But one thing about the Arc'teryx store too is that I think it's a great use of technology in the sense of aesthetics. So they have like this immersive. It was in one of the photographs. It's kind of just showing this massive like someone going down a mountain, and it just brings you to the
Yep.
setting where you can actually be trying on the clothes in an immersive way. So it's kind of just part of the shopping experience, but not, necessarily techie.
Right,
It's
right.
kind
You're
of
not using it to
aesthetics.
go shopping.
Yeah.
It's just part of the environment, which is again a very good use of how brands should be using tech within the store.
Yeah. And I think they all relate to like a map of um things that people can join as well, which is on one of the photographs as well. So I
Yep.
think it's a cool example, definitely worth a visit for those in New York. And definitely on my list, Chris, is the Buck Mason now in Flatiron because I've only really gone to the Soho locations, the main one, and then and Brooklyn. Their Nashville store is amazing as well. They also have a portion there. So I'm excited to check out the one in Flatiron. So thank
Maybe
you
they
for
just
sharing.
got
I'm
a
very
deep.
honored.
Yeah.
I'm honored, Sandy, that I can share something with you in your own backyard.
Yeah.
I'm privileged.
All right. So we have just a couple minutes left. So I thought it'd be great just to close with your last like one top piece of advice for retailers as they go into or we're now into it, but 2026.
Mine is very simple. I work a lot with retailers and brands that are going across borders. So cross-border is challenging. It always has been. I think it's even more challenging today. And whilst it's not just about opening stores, it's about really understanding the consumer because the consumer of 5 years, let alone 10 or 15 years ago, is very different from today. So does your brand, does your concept, does your store environment match that new store? And in the US, it could be just from one state to another. New York is not the same as California or San Francisco or whatever. So it's really, I would just say, we're going to see continued caution in the growth of retailers and brands, but they've got to do it right. And some of the examples we've shown today, I think there's a lot of effort and detail and design that goes into it to make sure they get it right. So that's what I see. Fewer stores still, but we
Mhm.
want to see really great stores like what we've seen in New York.
Yeah, and I have to echo part of that. I think, we hear a lot about retail being dead, physical retail being dead. And really what it is mediocre physical retail is not going to do well. We just have way too many choices as a consumer. And the idea that we need to create really compelling, authentic, and relevant in-store experiences, is going to be much more important going forward. Especially, this is where AI really will play a big part in how retail changes, right? If I can go to an AI agent and do all my shopping, stores need to do something dramatically different to bring me in.
Mhm.
So that's one piece of it. And as a tech guy, listen, not every tech's going to make it. Not every tech is right, but you've got to play with everything because we don't know what tech will work.
Hmm.
And, tech comes and goes. Listen, you know, 5 years ago, no one knew what TikTok was. 2 years ago, everybody was buying stuff on TikTok. Who knows what's going to happen in the future with TikTok? We've seen the TikToks of the world come and go. But you've got to kind of be able to play with everything so that you understand how it's going to impact your business. And certainly that's where we're seeing with AI right now. Everybody should be experimenting with how it can be used for the betterment of the shopping experience.
Great. Well, thank you both for taking the time out of your busy schedules to have a chat and share what you loved about your visits to some of these stores, and for sharing your top 5 picks. And I'm excited to see like what comes out next on your LinkedIn posts,
Yep.
because I definitely follow these guys. They share like amazing things on LinkedIn. Um, and I will hopefully see you soon. Chris, maybe in Paris. It's definitely on the agenda, I hope, in 2026. And David, I'm sure I'll see you in the next event or walkabout.
Yes, indeed. Looking forward to it. And
All
Chris,
right.
you're always welcome back this way as well.
Thank you very
Yes.
much. And you guys are welcome in Paris as well. I'd be happy
Yes.
to take you out to lunch, dinner,
It's a
whatever.
deal. It's a deal.
Yes. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks,
Brilliant.
everyone.
Well, take care.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye.